All right. Can the Pac-12 still make the college football playoff? We're entering a realm of a 12-team playoff where anybody can make the college football playoff, right? There is the talk of, all right, 11 Power 5 teams are going to make it, and then there'll be like an add-on, like a fun little, oh, Fresno State was good this year, put them in. Oh, Tulane was good this year, put them in. Oh, Florida Atlantic had a good year, put them in. But what happens when the big dogs, when these big teams in the Pac-12 leave? What happens even, and this is a scenario you're not considering, maybe this might blow your mind a bit. It's blowing mine. UCLA and USC leave. And then Oregon leaves. And then Washington leaves. And then schools like Utah are left with what, 8 teams? That's 8 teams. They add in San Diego State. They add in Fresno State. They add in Boise State instead of Fresno State, right? Somehow the Pac gets to 10 teams. What's kind of what the Big 12 did? Kind of what the Big 12 did. Granted, Texas and Oklahoma, when they stayed, were much bigger brands than anything the Pac-12 would carry. But what if Oregon and Washington jump ship? Utah's still there. Arizona's still there. And a couple new teams are added in the fold, and there's 10 teams. Next thing you know, Arizona goes 11-1. Utah goes 11-1. And then the team behind them, the second place team, let's say 1 year Stanford, goes 10-2. Will the Pac-12 get an automatic 2 spots in the college football playoff? Will the Pac-12 have a much easier path than the Big 12 to the college football playoff? One of the things we might not be considering is how monumentally tough the Big 12 is going to be as you add in these Pac-12 schools. It all sounds fine and dandy, right? Oh, yes, the strength of the Big 12. From a 30,000 level view, sounds great, right? But what if we come back down to earth, back to sea level, and we look around us and then see that Baylor's got to play these schools. BYU's got to play these schools. Oh, yes, Colorado's here. Hooray. The Big 12 was saved. But how do you feel when Colorado starts winning games? When Oregon starts winning games? When Washington starts winning games? What if, and this is a legitimate scenario, look at Missouri in the SEC. Missouri's first couple of years in the SEC, they competed for an SEC title. They were winning the East. How would you feel if we spent all this time talking up how good Oregon is, how good of a fit, a culture fit Arizona is, and then get to the end of the road and realize, shoot, they're beating the old Pac-12 teams, the old Big 12 teams. Not saying it's going to happen. Not saying it's guaranteed at all. But a legitimate chance that these squads get in here and start winning games. So then what? Can the Pac-12 still make the college football playoff? Yes. And that should scare you a little bit because there isn't, and some of you are already commenting, like, oh, of course this would never happen. People are smart. They're not. I don't know if you've seen like the College Football Playoff Committee and the way they operate, but there's a realm. I can see it. I can picture it right now. And you got to work with me here, but I can picture it right now where they look at the Pac-12 and say, we as College Football Playoff Committee could make a pretty good impression on college athletics if we determine that the Pac-12 is still a power conference, even without 4 teams they had last season. We'll say they're still a power conference, and we'll still let them into the college football playoff with or without a TV deal. You know, they still got Utah, Arizona, Arizona State. They still got the brands like Stanford. Even without like an Oregon or Washington, if the Pac-12 is still getting a team or two in the college football playoff, then what happened? What went away? What did they lose? Revenue per school, yes, but you make it back up with your opportunity to go to the college football playoff. Did we just give Utah a red carpet entrance? Did we just tell Utah, hey, sucks for you, you got stuck in the Pac-12. Congrats, you get to go to the 12-team playoff every year. I love the idea of a 12-team playoff. There are people out there, J.D. Piquel, one of them, very good friend of mine, who doesn't like the expanded playoff. And we've had plenty of arguments over this. The reason he doesn't like it is because it, quote, devalues the regular season. Look at the NFL. You know, week 13 rolls around and teams are still competing for the playoff, so fans are still showing up. I don't think it's going to devalue the regular season. I don't think rivalries like Michigan and Ohio State will go down the drain any more than they already have. I think it'll still be fine. People will have something to compete for because we live in a world. Listen to me here. We live in a world where if you lose 2 games out of the gate, you're done. Your season's over. It is. No one's going to New Year's 6 games. I've been to 2 Sugar Bowls, and I've seen pretty crappy crowds at least 1.5 of them. Baylor, Georgia was terrible. Baylor, Ole Miss was okay. Fun that we won. But the problem is teams, once they lose 2 games, once they're out of college football playoff contention, they give up on the regular season. Have we crafted a world in which the Big 12 regular season doesn't matter as much as the Pac-12, where the Big 12 for college football playoff purposes doesn't matter as much as the Pac-12? What if a 9-3 Baylor team, a 9-3 BYU team, a 9-3 Oklahoma State or TCU team that is obviously better than Arizona or Utah or Arizona State or Washington State? What if that team, that 9-3 team who played a much harder schedule, is left out? Then what was it all worth? What is it all worth when Baylor's 9-3, number 15 in the nation, Utah's 11-1, number 6 in the nation, and makes the expanded college football playoff? Who's laughing then? I give credit to Utah. What if they're onto something? What if they chose the easy road, and the easy road leads to more revenue in the long run because of the college football playoff? I fear that we're in a dangerous spot, that we've got some blinders on, and what we're seeing is actually leading us right toward that. And it's not good. I can't do that. I can't go 9-3 in a really competitive Big 12 where the league champion's 10-2, 11-2, and is a 10 seed in the college football playoff. And Utah goes 12-1 because they play nobody. Oregon goes 12-1 because they play nobody. Arizona, and they get the better seed. They get the home field advantage or whatever it is in the playoff. That sounds terrible. But tell me why we're not staring right down the barrel of that. If you think it's that far-fetched and that stupid, I don't think you paid enough attention to the College Football Playoff Committee, because it's kind of what they do. This is kind of where they go with things like this. When you think, oh, this makes common sense, they might do the opposite. The NCAA might do the opposite. Emmert might do the opposite. Speaking of opposites, the Pac-12 got an opposite of a TV deal that you should have. Oh, so bad. This is Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day.